A very big update just happened for Mortal Kombat 1, and you know what that means. It's time for a new tier list. Some of the best characters in the game got destroyed. We're talking crazy nerfs for the top tiers. But on the flip side, low tier characters got some buffs, and as a result, the meta has shifted around a little bit. Over the past couple of days, I've been reviewing tier lists made by content creators and even some pro players. And as a result, I think I'm finally ready to create my own definitive tier list for Mortal Kombat 1. Let me know what your tier list looks like in the comments down below, and without any further ado, let's begin. As mentioned earlier, the top tiers got hit pretty darn hard. Both Johnny Cage and Peacemaker got destroyed. But guess which character did not get touched? Kenshi. That's right, your boy Kenshi. So I think he might be top 1 in the game right now. Because Kenshi's been good since day 1, and the developers are trying pretty hard not to nerf him. I think because he's not that good at the casual level, which means against the average online player, he's not that big of an issue. But once you wander into deep waters and go to some tournaments, you're gonna see how crazy Kenshi can be. Right behind him, I think it's going to be Sindel. Where is she? There we go. There's Sindel. So you could argue that maybe Johnny Cage is here too. I'm gonna put Johnny Cage right behind Sindel, but they're effectively kind of tied for second place because even though Johnny Cage did get nerfed, Chameleon did not, and as a result, he still has crazy plus frames up close. He still has crazy combo damage. His shadow kick is still safe. It's slower now. It got nerfed, but it's still completely safe with Chameleon. So yeah, this guy's still pretty crazy. And next up, we have Fire God Liu Kang. This man is a triple threat. He's good at zoning, great at counter zoning, and can also combo off his throws, overheads, and lows with the right cameo. Or in other words, he's a jack of all trades. Liu Kang really can do anything at this point in the game, and I don't think he even has any bad matchups. If you pair Liu Kang with Kung Lao or Chameleon, he's definitely a top 5 character, or top 7 if you want to be a bit more critical. But next up, let's talk about Ashura. I'm pretty much a broken record at this point when it comes to Ashura because I keep telling everyone that she is perfect. No matter what cameo you give her, she's gonna be a great character. Yes, of course, certain cameos make her even stronger, but my point is, out of all the characters on the roster, I don't think any of them are more complete and rounded than Ashura. She's great up close, she's great from far away, she can zone, counter zone, has great mix-ups, she's safe on pretty much everything, and has the best footsies in the game because she wields a sword, so of course her range is just better than everybody else when it comes to a poke battle. But next up, how about a DLC character, Homelander? This man's combos got nerfed a little bit. It now costs meter if you want to flight cancel more than once in a combo, but of course skilled players have already found a way around this. They just do instant jump cancels instead to keep the combo going, and as a result, Homelander is still getting almost 40% for 1 bar or no meter with the right cameo. But that's not what makes him broken. It's the instant overheads pretty much anywhere on block thanks to his flight cancel, and on top of that, his block strings are insane. In the corner, I think he still has an infinite, and there's more bugs and glitches outside of that. As of right now, Homelander is still kind of a messy character. He's still breaking the game a little bit. Did I mention he has really good keep away? Because he does. Homelander has a really good keep away. Okay, but next up, let's talk about Tanya. This character at the casual level does not seem powerful whatsoever until you team her up with Goro, and then she becomes crazy because now everything she does is completely safe on block and sometimes plus if you time it correctly, which is already great, but then combine that with her teleport and also the best armor attack in the game, you could argue, because she keeps going towards the opponent and hits multiple times really quickly, and this allows her to chase the opponent down and even break their armor attacks if done correctly. So yeah, she has really good offense. Her only weakness is combo damage. But oh boy, now it's time for a surprise pick in the top tiers, Li Mei. After watching a couple of pro players use this character effectively, my eyes have been opened. I now believe beyond the shadow of a doubt that Li Mei is a top 10 character in this game. And there's a couple big reasons why. For starters, she has the fastest special move in the entire game that lets her punish down 1. We're talking 35% for 1 bar of meter. It's actually pretty crazy. Her best block string no longer has a gap, so that's really good. Her balloon can now be used for plus frames, which is awesome. If you main Li Mei, you are eating good right now. And if you've been on the fence and not sure if you wanted to try her out, there's never been a better time. She is so good right now. Alright, that's it for the top tier, so now it's time for row number 2, beginning with Kitana. People were sleeping on her when the game first came out. Pause. People were ignoring this character when the game first came out. They were downplaying how good she was. As it turns out, Kitana has some really good setups, some great counter zoning and zoning of her own, and deceivingly good combo damage too. Kitana can do pretty much everything and combo off her throw with the right cameo, which is always strong in this game. So when you take all these factors and combine them together, it turns out that Kitana is a very solid character. Next up, we have Reiko. This character's been good since day one. Nobody would disagree with you. For some reason, the best projectile in the game, despite being a grappler. That is not allowed in most fighting games. The grapplers don't get any projectiles, let alone the best in the game, but here we are. Reiko has the best projectile, hands down. His command grab is good too. He's got tons of plus frames. The only downside is he's locked in with certain cameos. You can't get too creative in that regard because the cameo has to let him combo off his command grab, which unfortunately does mean less player expression, but he's still good. Some might argue that he's actually better than Kitana or even in like the top row, but I think he's right behind Kitana only because he has some really bad matchups. But oh boy, it's time for another DLC character, Ermac. This guy's pretty good. He's just not crazy good like everybody pretended he was. I had some people calling me out on social media saying, underdog, he's like top 5, you have no clue what you're talking about. But then the tournaments happened, and where was Ermac? Pretty much nowhere, because even though he's good, he's not crazy strong like everybody said he was. His combo damage is below average, but he has some really cool dash cancels, some fun mix-ups here and there. His counter zoning, not the best, but it's okay, it gets the job done. I think Ermac is a very solid character, he's just not broken or unfair. But then we have Melina, one of my favorite characters to play, and it turns out that pros are discovering new tech with this character. So now she sticks to the opponent like glue. They do the instant air ball roll, charge it so that it locks onto the opponent and tracks them, then you summon a cameo to keep Melina safe. So now she's in, even from full screen, and either gets a full combo from hitting you, or she gets in for free and can keep pressuring you, which is what she's already good at. So when you take that new tech and combine it with her combo damage, which is already one of the best in the game, I'd say like top 2 damage in the game, Melina's pretty good now. But then we have Rain. This character is getting so much love from NetherRealm. It's kinda crazy. I wonder if one of those developers is a Rain main, because he just keeps getting new stuff. Brand new combo routes, more pressure on block, which is insane because he already had a Kara throw. Nobody else in the game has a Kara throw, but Rain does for some reason, and he can combo off his throw very easily. Or in other words, Rain was already good, but NetherRealm said give him way more buffs. So I think Rain is one of those sleeper characters who could easily win an upcoming tournament, but right now most pros are ignoring him, and I'm not really sure why, because I think he is a secret killer. He's a dark horse. Whoa, but now it's finally time for a controversial take. It would not be an underdog tier list video without a hot take. Sub-Zero is actually in the very good tier, and if you don't believe me, you can ask Sonic Fox. This character, when paired with Chameleon, is actually quite good. He's not great, but he's quite good. And that's because Melina's ball roll covers any of his gaps and breaks armor, right? So the opponent can't get away from that situation. And then Jade gives him plus frames and new combo routes along with Melina as well, and then Katana's fan lift makes his slide more powerful and safer, and his projectile becomes good too. I think Sub-Zero is the only reason that NetherRealm did not nerf Chameleon, because they know if they do that, Sub-Zero's not going to be a good character anymore. He's going to be like middle of the road at best. But as of right now, Sonic Fox, the best Mortal Kombat 1 player in the world, says that Sub-Zero and Chameleon is top tier. I would not go that far, but I do think Sub-Zero is comfortably outside that top 10 area. But next up, let's talk Raiden. This guy does the best chip damage in the game. He's a jack of all trades, and when combined with the right cameo, he's got some pretty annoying mix-ups too. He's got like low overhead, low overhead, low overhead. He can be really annoying when combined with Darius or even Goro, and of course also great chip damage and some pretty good zoning too if you charge up his blast. He'd be top tier if not for Cyrax getting nerfed, and that's the truth. Next up we have Omni-Man, one more character that a lot of players are sleeping on. He's got a lot of really good tools. His teleport has always been godlike. I think he has the best meterless combo in the game, so that's really cool. In terms of damage, nobody does more than Omni-Man without meter. And don't forget about Viltrumite's dance, which lets him dodge literally everything. It's a pretty powerful move, so Omni-Man's a very solid character. I don't think he excels at anything really, but he's solid, okay? Omni-Man's a good character. But then last but not least for this row, we have General Shao. And let me say this right here and now. If Movado had not been nerfed, then General Shao would be further up. I'd say in front of Sub-Zero, right behind Rain. That's how good he was when Movado first came out. Every command grab did 52% damage. It was lovely, and it was unblockable. You had to hold it. It was so sick. And even his regular throw was doing 30% without meter because he can buff himself mid-combo. It was so good. And then if he landed that low attack, it was game over. It was over 60% damage. It was awesome. Such a wonderful time to play General Shao, but then sadly, Movado got nerfed, so he's right here now. Okay, time for row number 3, and first up is Reptile. This guy got so many buffs, and to make things better, the nerfs he got were reverted because they actually weren't intentional. It was a bug. And as a result, Reptile's damage is back, and he's still an amazing whiff punish character. He can turn invisible for some fun mix-ups, and now his overhead is no longer punishable on block. So hallelujah for that. He finally has safe mix-ups. I think if Reptile just gets a couple of more buffs, he'll be one of the top 10 characters. He really is that close to the threshold. But oh boy, next up we have Peacemaker. Yeah, this guy used to be number 2 in the whole game. Nobody would argue this guy was right behind Johnny Cage or possibly in front of him in terms of how cheap he was at running away and just being lame the entire match. But guess what? He got nerfed super hard. Eagly is now much weaker than before. The torpedo is more reactable. It is way easier to punish, and the anti-projectile shield takes way longer to start up and pretty much puts a giant sign over Peacemaker's head saying, please hit me because I can't move right now. So yeah, Peacemaker became worse at counter zoning and worse at whiff punishing. His damage is lower too, and just all around he can't run away like he used to either, which is how he played at high level. He would just poke and then eagly, then anti-projectiles, then fire his own projectile, then random torpedo. Cameo kept him safe. It was super annoying. Now all of those things have been made worse, and he's ironically enough below average. He's like not even mid-tier right now. Next up we have Scorpion. This character keeps getting minor glow-ups here and there. He's never been a great character. He's only ever been decent, but even so, I find it funny how NetherRealm keeps giving him tiny breadcrumbs here and there. Maybe with a few more buffs, he'll finally be one of those great characters. But as of right now, he's got really great mobility, and that's his main thing. With the right cameo, he's got some good chip damage too. And that's pretty much all he has right now, but it's not bad. He's just not a very interesting character in terms of what he can do. So next up, let's talk about Smoke. He's one of those characters that depending on who you ask, he's either really good or really terrible, or some people think he's in the middle. I honestly think he's a little bit below the middle, so a bit below average, only because once you learn his gaps and how to up block, he becomes a much weaker character. Plus online and a bad connection, those vapor cancels become near impossible, and you get comboed if you mess those up, right? Just full combo. The risk reward is so high for Smoke. If you barely mistime that cancel, you're just dead. And the mix-ups are there, but again, if the opponent blocks correctly, you're just dead. Whereas many other characters in this game can go for one of those mix-ups and not lose their entire health bar. Smoke is one of those characters that if you up block the overhead, he's just dead. If you block the low, then he's dead there too. So he lives and dies by his mix-ups. He's got some fun pressure, but again, the vapor cancels make it really difficult to manage correctly. And so many other characters like Tanya have the same kind of rush down, but just use Goro and you're safe. Okay, next up is Kung Lao. This character also one of those fighters where you're not quite sure where to put him. I think right now the only thing Kung Lao has going for him is that crazy good wake up. This guy gets to wake up for free pretty much every single time. It's safe on block without a cameo. It's safe by default, but then with Movado or Goro or certain select cameos, he now gets a full combo off it, right? So that's kind of his game plan. He just goes for that YOLO armor attack, and if it lands, full combo. If it's blocked, he's still completely safe. And on paper, that's really good, but the issue is, like, his player expression is not that great. I kind of do wish NetherRealm would give him a couple other tools to mess around with, like maybe have his spin be better as an anti-air. That would be really sick. Maybe his hat spin could actually launch the opponent if you spin a meter. Maybe it sucks them in and launches them. That could be sick. Just give him more ways to be creative. As of right now, he really is the I'm going to armor my way in or try to whiff punish with a dive kick. You get the idea, right? I wish he had more solid options to go for. Next up, we have Baraka. This guy was actually good for a brief moment when the Cyrax glitch happened, and that spin spin was only half a cameo bar again, that made Baraka an instantly great character. He was suddenly like right outside top 10. He was finally good again, but sadly that was a glitch, so that buff to Cyrax got reverted, and now Baraka is still not super great. A lot of what he goes for is extremely risky, and finally people are reacting to the overhead, even though it is admittedly kind of fast, but now everybody can block it on reaction, so his mix-up is gone too, which means all he has is the bleed damage and the chip damage over time, but he has to hit you to make that happen, and he's also got to spend bar, and keep in mind his combo starter also costs bar in many situations, so that means 2 bars just to activate what makes Baraka decent in this game. It's very expensive. Honestly, NetherRealm, just give him back the damage or find some healthy middle ground, because after you took his damage, this character just didn't have a ton going for him. Alright everyone, it's time for the most interesting part of the video, the bottom tiers, the please buff characters. First up we have Quan Chi. This guy's just too slow. At the end of the day, that's his main weakness. His down 1 is the slowest in the game, and that's a big deal because that's the move you use to challenge people who are pressuring you, right? And it's not just the down 1. Quan Chi is pretty slow in general. Now, does he have tools to compensate? Yeah, I'd say everywhere outside the tournament level, Quan Chi's not a bad character, honestly. He can get the job done. And even at the tournament level, I think if people really did get sweaty with this character and just grind and practice with him like crazy, they would see some of the ridiculous things he can do. But the issue is these other top characters can also do that without having to be that sweaty, so. But next up, let's talk about Garrus. This man actually got a couple of buffs, so you would think he'd be way higher on the tier list, but in my opinion, he's still right here, so that tells you all you need to know. Garrus just doesn't excel at anything. I feel like if I worked at NetherRealm, I would make his command grab way better. I would just increase the damage on it, that way he becomes scarier as a grapple threat. Once the opponent's really scared of his command grab, I think his other tools can start shining. But as of right now, you just wait on him, and then take your turn back eventually and then pressure him like crazy because he doesn't have the best get off me tools. But with all that said, I'm not entirely sure if we know the true limits of Garrus's potential because how many top players are actually using him at the tournament level? I haven't really seen it. I've seen people play him at like the online tournaments, the more casual stuff, but I have not seen any of like the big 3 or big 5 pros using Garrus at a tournament, so I'm not really sure what he's capable of when pushed to that level. So for now, let's move on to Shang Tsung. I don't think this character is bad. Nobody in this game is bad, by the way. They're just lacking other tools that other characters have, but nobody in this game is bad. The issue with Shang Tsung is they added keep away characters that are just better than him, and that's Shang Tsung's main gimmick, is his fireball projectiles, his zoning, his keep away, right? His combos are still really cool, but there's no mix-ups there, so you can just block against them all day. I think there needs to be a bit more of a reward for landing those mixes with this character. Like maybe his damage could be buffed, and also make his shapeshift more viable too. Unless you spend bar, there's no valid reason of turning into the opponent. So I think the damage buff should be there by default, or hey, just throwing a crazy idea out there, why not have him constantly heal over time when he transforms into the opponent's character? Something to give the player a reason to transform all the time, because that's always been Shang Tsung's fun gimmick. Once again, Shang Tsung's not bad. With Kung Lao as his cameo, the guy gets some really deadly jump and mix-ups, but every character in the game has that, so why not just pick somebody more damaging in that scenario so that if you guess correctly on the opponent and they can't block right, you get way more payoff for your character, right? But alright, here we go. The worst characters in Mortal Kombat 1, Nitara and Havoc. Honestly, I feel like they're tied. Nitara got a new cancelable string, which at high level does almost nothing for her, because the gap is the exact same. You can still armor through it or flawless block it, same idea. However, at the lower levels of play, it's actually quite good, because it's a great hit confirm that's safe on block, so as long as the opponent doesn't flawless block or armor through it, it's completely safe, no risk, and then on hit, you get a full combo. That's actually kind of a big deal at the more casual level, because most players out here are not armoring through gaps or doing flawless blocks. Lord knows most players don't flawless block. And that's why you could argue that Nitara is now better than Havoc, because he got way more buffs, but they were so minute. They were baby steps, and it makes me wonder if NetherRealm knows what they want to do with this character. It doesn't seem like they do. I feel like they have no idea what kind of character they want Havoc to be. And maybe that's why he's not a master at anything. He can do some things okay, like his fireball pressure can be interesting and give him plus frames, and even though his mix mix-up game did get a bit better in the recent update. It's like, how many mix-ups do you have to land before you finally win the round, you know? I'm gonna say it, okay? I don't care. His little neck snap ability should only cost 1 bar instead of 2, or make it much faster. That way, when the opponent does land that weird gooey drip thing, the neck snap is almost guaranteed, in some situations at least. Because as it stands right now, you can still move all the way back in and hit Havoc before he can even do the neck snap. So what's the point of draining 2 bars? 2 bars in this game is so expensive just to go for a setup that is so easy for the opponent to stop. Not to mention, Havoc is one of those characters who needs a cameo. Without his cameo, he's just not playing the game anymore. Very similar to Kung Lao. Once Goro goes away, or whatever his cameo partner is, Kung Lao just has to wait for the cameo to come back. That's how lacking he is without his cameo, and it's the same with Havoc. He just can't play the solo game. He needs that cameo so badly. Yeah man, Havoc needs something. I'd say a big damage buff and more ways to combo without having to use the cameo. Maybe make his unblockable string special cancelable. That way he doesn't need a cameo. That could be really sick too. It might seem overpowered, but we're kinda at that point now where we have to try things with these characters because they're struggling right now. They're drowning. We gotta give them some cool stuff and just see if it works. If it's too strong, we'll roll it back another round, but come on, give them something cool and see if it works out in their favor. Alright everyone, there you have it, the new definitive tier list in Mortal Kombat 1 with the big June update. The best characters got nerfed, and as a result the meta has shifted, and I like where the game is at right now. I think all of these characters are extremely fun with the exception of Havoc, and even Natara I want to see get some more stuff, but she got a buff. That's nice, I guess. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you feel about the current state of Mortal Kombat 1 at the casual level and the tournament level? Which characters do you think need buffs? Which characters need nerfs? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below because, like I always say, I truly do read each and every comment. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below. It helps the channel out a ton. And then finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.